One day, strong wind, strong sun, and strong sake make the three-body narrative. Welcome to the three-body narrative. We are your hosts, Pradyum, Aaron, and Naeem, and we are here to talk to you about Karate Kid Legends. So, before we get to our rating, let's give everyone listening a synopsis about this movie. After moving to New York City with his mother, Kung Fu prodigy Li Feng, Kung Fu prodigy? Never mind. Li Feng struggles to let go of the past as he tries to fit in with his new classmates. When a new friend needs his help, Li Feng enters a karate competition, but his skills are not quite enough. And that's when, with the help of Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso, Lee soon learns to merge two styles into one for the ultimate martial arts showdown, the Five Boroughs. Okay, so guys, now that we've told everyone about the entire movie, let's get to our ratings. Who wants to start first?
I think I'll get started because I don't have really a whole lot to say about it. But yeah,
Okay.
I think with the rating, I'll go with probably a 2.5 in terms of the movie as a whole. Reason being, I guess, predominantly would be they've tried to kind of give this whole backstory to Lee, but they don't really spend enough time to kind of uh, show you or give you the impact of how this has affected Lee over the years or whatever the duration of time of the major or whatever that major incident in his life was that has kind of held him back. And so I felt that that was kind of a miss for me. In terms of the story, I think there was some pretty cool things, like one of the fight scenes where I think those debt collectors were coming after whatever the dad of that girl was, and they kind of tried to put a Jackie spin on it with like a more comic thing in the fight scene. That was pretty nice. I think some of the moments where they tried to be funny, like I think the guy singing Backstreet Boys on the roof. Maybe it was more down to me being in an empty theater, but it kind of felt like they tried a joke and no one really laughed at it. So that was kind of like a kind of an awkward moment because you're like, is anyone else laughing at this? But yeah, so it was a nice movie, but I don't think it was one that I should have been in a theater for.
Interesting. Okay. Name San, you want to take it away?
Yeah. Um. So I echo a lot of what Aaron said in the sense that, but I rate it a little better in the sense that I'd give it a 3. A lot of this is from a bias of revisiting the world of Karate Kid. It is quite like I find it to be a very fond place in my life in the sense that it's the whole universe that Karate Kid has built has always been very entertaining to me, and it's always very the stakes seem so high for something so not important per se. Like it's hard to explain how that works, but it's like it's high school bullying and all of that stuff, which in general, obviously, high school bullying is not a like funny matter.
Well,
What
guess who's getting cancelled this time round?
No, so high school bullying obviously is not a small this thing, and but like from the general sense of it, like I have fond memories from the Karate Kid in terms of how you deal with bullying and all of that stuff, right? And I like the grounded nature of it in terms of dealing with such smaller issues, but in the grand scheme of things, of how big a what is the right word that I want to, like, the way they present it is on a worldly level kind of a thing, right? Like, it's not just a everyday problem, but it's like something that
They
the
make it
entire
grander than
film
what it is.
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So a 3 out of 5, I think, mainly because I also think that this is a movie that I can watch again. It's not something like I've watched and like I can never think of going back to it. uh, it's a decent watch. But I completely agree with Aaron when he says that I don't think this needed a theatrical release. I think it would be a good release as a Netflix original or something like that. I don't know. But I think Netflix owns the rights to Karate Kid now, or no, Sony owns it, right? But they have some sort of partnership with Netflix, or however that works. So a standalone movie on Netflix would have definitely sold this as a better idea. And I think even from a perspective of how many people actually turned up for this movie, and considering I thought at the time when the trailer came out that this might be a summer blockbuster, but clearly it's not got the legs under it, I suppose. So acting, I mean, obviously, Daniel LaRusso sticks to his acting chops in terms of how he's always played the character. So it's in line with. I think Jackie Chan is Jackie Chan, right? Like, you can't really like, I have no issues whatsoever in the way he plays the character of Mr. Han.
Yeah.
And I like that bit. The way this whole universe comes together is still a question mark for me, because Miyagi and Han's family are connected, and
Yeah.
Miyagi and Han are friends. And it just so happens that Miyagi and Han have lived almost exactly the same lives, in the sense that they're both widowed.
Hmm.
They both got drunk at some point, and they both had like these crazy karate skills that they did not show. They were just like some security or like maintenance person at in the building, and they both find this uh orph not an orphan, but like a
No, it's definitely
not an
Larussa,
orphan,
not all. They just
like
found this really
kid
wimpy
with,
kid
yeah,
who got bullied a
who was
lot.
being bullied and needed some help. All of that stuff, trains them, and then like all of that in the way of how they are friends and have basically had the same exact same life. Like, I don't get it. It's not Marvel Universe to have like a like alternate Earth or something like that. But it's just funny how that happens, and that they are such close friends apparently. But other than all of that, I think this movie shines through in that moment where they do that bit of the alleyway fight scenes, and in there I see a lot of nice action choreography, like in the
Hmm.
fight sequences and stuff. I think this kid has a lot of potential, especially in this universe, right? Like, I feel like even his acting chops in general, probably the emotional beats can be a little bit better. But for someone like, I don't know if he's done any other work in Hollywood before this. I'm seeing him for the first time in like Hollywood. And from what I saw, I think he's got potential. There's a lot more he needs to work on in terms of the emotional aspect of things. I think that didn't hit me as well as it should have. Also, down to the fact, like Aaron mentioned, right? Like, there's not been enough uh, time spent on building that bond between this character and the other character, and the subsequent loss, and how that trauma kind of inflicts so much pain on him and fear in him. It's not really explained. It's shown in bits and pieces, but I don't think you completely relate to it, and as such the motivation of the character is not justified enough for me in what transpires later on. Uh, I like the training montage. I especially, more than the main character training itself. It's when the character is training the father,
Yeah.
like the friend who's the father of the potential girlfriend or whatever. That whole sequence was really fun to me. Um, and yeah, I think suffice to say basically that this as a standalone movie only works perhaps if it was not a theatrically. There's no reason why they should have come out with this in the cinemas. Uh,
Okay.
I think it would have worked as a good, also from a perspective of Cobra Kai, right? Like there's no, this is supposed to be like 3 months after Cobra Kai, I think, and there
Okay.
is no real link to it as a, with the exception of Daniel LaRusso being in there and then a certain someone showing up right towards the end of it, which was one of my favorite parts of the movie because I think in a couple of minutes that person really stole the show with just a couple of lines.
Miyagi-Do.
Miyagi-Do, indeed. Yeah,
Miyagi-Do.
so I
Yes.
think that's my rating for the movie, and for the most part, like I summarized what I think about the movie.
You summarized the entire movie in and of itself. But yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would,
Without
I would,
giving away spoilers,
yeah,
I
yeah,
would think.
yeah. That's true. So I would give this movie a 2 out of 5. I was almost thinking of giving it a 1.5. Now that is maybe surprise to some people, or it isn't. So for me, I think Sony should stop making live action movies. Okay, I think they should just stick to making animated movies where they probably are better at, and maybe PlayStation games. Please stop making live action movies. It does not work. I The only reason I gave it a 2 was A, because of the acting in a way. I really liked some of the characters, and it was nice to see some familiar faces. And B is because of some of the cinematography or the choreography, rather, in terms of the action sequences, except for the last fight where I believe they might have used some CGI which looked very painfully obvious. But I think overall, I would give this a 2. I did not think that I did not care much for a lot of the characters because there was not much time spent with a lot of them. It felt a lot more of a boxing movie than it did a karate kung fu, because a large part of it was spent on the initial training of Victor. So did not, and I felt like the karate and the kung fu sequences
My
should.
friend, kung fu and karate is everywhere in everything. I do not agree with you.
Sure, that is not my
Boxing is kung
problem.
fu.
Yeah,
Boxing is
box. No, but honestly, I felt that there was a lot of time spent in building up the initial or the reason as to why he would enter into the tournament, and then that the important bit, which is what I've come to see, which is the karate and the kung fu mix, was probably rushed in for me. I Yeah, in terms of even the character development, I thought it was lacking a lot. I didn't feel like much of it was earned. The relationship bit was cute, but oh my god, the villains were so one dimensional. I didn't care at all. I didn't know that what was the reasoning for it. It just felt like, okay, he's just angry at you because you owe him money, and he's just going to do anything that he's going to do. But I think what I loved about the earlier Karate Kid movies, even the Jaden Smith like Jackie Chan Karate Kid, was that there was a lot of heart to it. There was a lot of heart. There were emotional beats. There was some sort of story which you could probably either relate to, or you felt like, okay, this is a nice thing to watch. But here it just felt like the plot had to move forward because the plot just had to move forward. You hit every sort of scene because it was meant to. And at the end, yeah, when he won, I mean, spoiler alert, but when that ending happened and when he won, like, come on, who's going to? I mean, what spoiler is that? Everyone knows he's going to win. But the fact, the ending when he won, like, it did not leave me with me going like, yes, like how the Cobra Kai series did. But yes, I understand that the series gives you a lot of time with the characters, whereas the movie doesn't. I did not see any reason to do a standalone movie given what has happened in the past when it comes to building this entire universe. So the reasoning to come up with a standalone movie which had nothing to do with the Cobra Kai TV show, the successful Cobra Kai TV show, was baffling from the start, and it showed throughout. So for me, yeah, I would probably say a 2. That's the maximum I could ever give it. Yeah. So now that we're done with our ratings, let's talk about some of the key moments, I suppose. And
Before the key moments thing, I think one thing that really lets down Karate Kid's Legends is this focus on inherent focus on, it's always the sensei that is bad, and as a result of that, it's the person training also who turns out to be bad because of the teachings
yeah,
and all of that. Like, I think it's a trope that's been used right from the start, which was okay right at the beginning, right? And I get it, like, but why not have like a different story in the sense that not every time it's the teacher's fault, but sometimes it can be the fighter in itself, or like the student in itself that's, chooses that path for whatever reason, maybe. And I also don't like the fact that
I think
we don't get.
that's maybe to show the innocence in children rather than, I don't know, show someone to be outright evil like that for a kid. I think maybe that's the case. But I agree with you. I agree with you in the saying that it's been done time and time again that the sensei, but it's always there, right? Like they say it also that the sensei is always as good as the
The student is as good
student.
as
The student is no. I thought
No, it's the
Jackie
sensei is as good as the
student or
student.
something.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's what Han says to Larusso.
okay.
Yeah, when they're at the this thing and they say that you've taught him well and stuff like that. So yeah,
no, but
but yeah,
actually, yeah.
just going back to that same thing is like you kind of like I think Mia tells Lee at some point that he wasn't always like this way and all, but like uh show me something that kind of alludes to that. I think the
Yeah,
only time you see it is where he's like, we got the points, and the sensei is like, we don't go for points, we go for the kill or something like that. I mean, like, uh, just a one-off statement is not going to make me believe that this guy isn't all that evil, and then even when he's trying to be evil, it doesn't really convince me that he's like some badass guy.
yeah.
If he's like, you'd laugh at him more than take him seriously
Yeah.
for that aggression that he was showing. But yeah, anyway.
Also along those lines, right? Like, in the sense that Connor Day is kind of like Daniel, not Daniel, sorry. Wow,
Silver. He looks like Silver. He
looks
looks
like
like Silver.
Silver, but
Yeah.
the story.
I was like, is this Silver's backstory at times? Because I don't know if it's just the bun or the way that he styled his hair and just probably the long jaw, the long face, but he looked like Silver. And I'm like, huh, interesting. But I agree. I don't think like there was any point where I felt like I should feel sorry for Connor Day.
Also, but see, the thing is, okay, they're saying that he's innocent, like he was innocent at a certain point,
Yeah,
right? It basically means he's a similar character to what Johnny Lawrence's character was, right? Johnny
correct.
wasn't always the way he was. It was the sensei who shapes him up to be in a certain way, etc., all of that stuff. But it's more believable with Johnny, like even in the first movie when you see it, right? He is doing whatever he's doing because of the issue with the girl and all of that. Like in that, it is very clear. Like he's only bullying Larusso because Larusso is hitting on his girl or ex girlfriend or whatever. Right? Like you get that as someone who's in teenage. It's very difficult to, I think, grasp to this understanding of like you need to move on. It takes a while to kind of settle in, and then you kind of understand. Okay, it's like things have to end and you just have to move on. There's no other way around that. In this, it's slightly more difficult to understand because two things, right? Like in this, the girl in itself is confused, first of
Yeah.
all, because there is that moment where, like, even if I'm standing in that guy's shoe, which is a Lee's shoe, and I see across the market this girl is there having a chat with, there's a way you have a chat when it's like a normal chat, and there's a way you have a chat when you're flirting with someone, and it clearly looks like that the girl is flirting with that guy, and
Which
like, oh,
she also kind of said that she did think
yeah,
about
she
it
she
for a bit.
mentions
Yeah.
all of that stuff, right? But like okay, I think the innocence comes through, not innocence per se, but I think at that point I'm like, okay, maybe Connor is not completely at fault, because I feel like he's being led on in a certain way, right? And he feels like okay, I don't know if it's
Okay,
controversial, but
I
think about
wonder.
it.
I wonder why we're gonna get cancelled this time. They've already said something at the start, and now you're blaming the girl for
No, I'm not
essentially.
blaming the girl. I'm just saying that the circumstances in which
Yeah. No,
things
I
are kind
understand
of,
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm kidding.
it's not right. And like, I feel like Connor is from a perspective of, when you're in that moment, I think you feel like, okay, she's still there. It's not like she's completely moved on. He might still have a chance to kind of get her back and stuff like that. And if you see, while all of that happening, there's another party involved in there that's trying to kind of make a go. You wanna, I think it's normal to want to kind of shut that down. I don't know, like not in an aggressive manner, like from a physical perspective, but I think you'd at least want to kind of have a talk with the guy and say, like, listen, we've got history here or whatever, buzz off or something like that. I mean, is it the
I think.
right thing to do? I guess not, but as a teenager, I think it's normal, right? Like, I don't know. I
I'd
feel like
love
that's
to meet
normal.
teenage Naeem.
Yeah, exactly. We did. We kind of did, but we never saw any of this. But I would have loved to
Yeah,
meet this kind of teenage name there. But
yeah,
I don't know. See, I think he did say also in the train that he wasn't aware that they were done, because
yeah,
I don't think she ever
yeah. He
really.
said, "I didn't even know we had moved on," or something like that. Way he says, yeah,
Yeah. Now I don't know who. Again, it might have been that he's just not let go of the fact that she essentially did break up with him. But at the same time, you don't kick a kid or punch a kid. No, he punches him, right, or basically elbows him in the train, right? So that physical, I agree with you. It's definitely not required, but I think they could have had a talk. Essentially, then the movie wouldn't have gone anywhere. The whole point was that he's also goaded by his sensei, who tells him, right, looks like your lady friend's moved on. Which, oh my god, I think the sensei is one of the most stereotypical American bad guy, right? Like just the way he talks, whatever's been written for him, or even just the way he looks. It's just, or and even his name, O'Shea. Come on, like you can't get even more stereotypical with a name. So I don't know. I feel like it's a been there, done that sort of trope, if you want to call it, and it did not work for me this time around, because neither did I believe like the sensei was really bad, nor did I believe that Connor had any. No, so, I mean, in this, I didn't believe he was bad in the sense that I didn't fear him. Unlike a Crease where I feared him, I didn't care much about this guy to fear. Like I knew he could have easily been put down. Like, and also it just felt like Connor having these three goons who could come and do stuff for him felt like, why am I supposed to feel bad for this guy? How I like if I was Lee, I'd be like, screw this. This is definitely, I don't care what he was. He definitely, I would not have believed Mia's words in saying that he was good at some point in time, because he clearly had. They didn't show at any point in time where he had even an ounce of remorse. Even in the
You
end,
kind of
I
see
didn't believe.
kind of something is that, like, I think there's acknowledgement right at the end, right, where he finally like bows
I
down. But I think
still think that
from
also
a
is.
perspective of defeat,
Yeah.
whereas it's a little more with Johnny Lawrence's character, I think it's a little more deeper than that, in the sense that you do see him drawing lines with certain things. I think yeah, I know what happened there. Yeah, drawing lines with certain aspects of things. I think like he doesn't want to do things, and eventually at the end, I kind of sees through it from that perspective, I suppose. But here it feels like it's like for the win he's willing to do anything, but the motivations are not, it
clear.
doesn't relate as much, and secondly it doesn't hit too well, I suppose.
Well, I don't ever believe that Connor's going to be a changed man after this fight, right? I still think they're still going to do the same thing again and again and again and again. Right? I have no like conviction that he is going to treat Lee like a proper human being after this. I still believe that
he-
maybe a couple of days later he'll just probably not fight him because he knows he's got his ass kicked, but he's still going to
yeah.
be a mean bastard to anyone else. Okay, and unlike Lawrence, Johnny, where I really felt like there was that innocence there, and I think he did regret whatever's happened. Of course, that helps with from Cobra Kai as well. Now,
I
talking
think
about
that I think that one line that they have with with Johnny, where he says, "You're all right, LaRusso,"
yeah,
shows that he's matured enough to acknowledge from a perspective of when his opponent is better than him, or like gotten the better of him, or whatever, right? And it's more focused from that perspective. It's, I think, even then he doesn't unnecessarily, like, initially, yes, he has this aggressive moment where he goes at Daniel at the beach or whatever, but eventually it's like some of the things that Daniel does to get back at them that kind of further riles that entire group
yeah.
into further bullying.
Here, I
uh,
don't think Lee ever goads Connor into doing anything. The poor guy's just living his own life, and I, I mean, in no way, shape, or form does he goad Connor into. Then you're thinking, yeah, I think Lee deserved it. So it, it just felt half written, half baked in whatever they were trying to portray. But talking about Cobra Kai, and I know Aaron, you've not watched it, but Naeem, I just want to check. Like, do you think when this was announced, obviously it was known that it was a standalone film. Even in the trailers, it looked like it was going to be a standalone film. But were you surprised by the lack of any acknowledgement about anything whatsoever that was there in Cobra Kai?
yeah, it makes me feel very weird in the sense of, like, especially the last two seasons of Cobra Kai, or maybe even the last three. I don't remember. There were so many parts of the last
Yeah,
couple of
yeah,
that don't, it all mixes in together of sorts. But like, to have a tournament as big as the one there is towards the finale of
yeah,
Cobra Kai, right? And to not have any sort of mention whatsoever of any of the events from that perspective of, it's like when you run into LaRusso, he's living this whole life by himself alone, like, which feels very, I don't know, it doesn't sit in with the LaRusso we leave at the end of Cobra Kai, right? Like, I think, okay, some bits of that is rectified by the last shot of the scene where you see a familiar face, and I think we can talk about
we
it
can
now.
tell
It's,
about, yeah,
yeah,
it's
Johnny.
Johnny.
Johnny is in the frame again. So from that perspective, okay, there's a little bit more in that. But again, like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot that's happened between, except for the fact that Johnny and Daniel are now friends.
Yeah,
There's not much happened since Karate Kid 2 or 3, um,
true.
for that whole thing, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. They could have, like, they put a lot of posters. Like, they had a Tekken poster, which is Sony again. I think they also had like a Ryuk Death Note kind of poster. So I'm pretty sure they could have had some poster acknowledging the fact that there was a Sakai Takai tournament or something like that. I just felt like having no, absolutely zero reference to what actually, I was going to say exactly and actually at the same time, but what exactly happened in the end of Cobra Kai, which was because of the
So
events
my
of,
only one thing, like, in my head, what I was like trying to defend them with is the fact that it is Cobra Kai that wins it. So if there is any sort of trophy or any sort of reference that anyone wants, it's at the Cobra Kai gym. It's not gonna be at Miyagi-Do, because technically
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Miyagi
yeah.
did suffer a very, well. I mean, he
No,
did
well, yes,
kind of bow out
that,
of it.
yes, yeah. So, without spoiling it too much, also for Aaron, but yes, I think, yeah. All I'm trying to
I
say
think at
is
this point, if we are to discuss this without spoiling and then talk about Cobra Kai there, it's quite difficult.
no, but I
I think,
agree. The
and I don't think Aaron is interested in watching Cobra Kai anytime soon anyway.
After Legends, I think that's probably fallen a lot more, but you should definitely watch it. But I think, yes, that for me felt very weird that there was not even a mention of this. Nor did they. Okay, I know Cobra Kai was meant to have different outlets. They probably don't have, unlike what Mister um what's his name wanted to have Cobra Kai be. Silver. He wanted Cobra Kai to be this global brand and this
Oh
massive,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the fact that I saw Demolition, which felt like it should have been more badass than what it actually was. It just felt like a normal gym that you would go to, right? Not did they make it seem like they didn't even make it seem like Demolition was this really badass gym or this badass dojo which was winning. It just felt like this one kid did
It,
everything.
it kind of was, right? Because, like, if you see that one scene where he mocks Connor saying, looks like your girlfriend moves on, there's this big ass bald guy who gets scared of Connor and he's like, he
Yeah.
wants someone who's, oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay, a grown ass man, but okay.
yeah.
But yeah,
It
They
just felt
they
like
aren't all training at the level that Connor is, so
correct.
he's clearly the bully of the gym. So it's like you say, and he's just a teenager who can take on any of them. That'll be it's crazy.
I did love the as much as I felt like it spent a lot of time on the a lot of a whole lot part of the movie. Blah, 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 too many things. While I felt like majority of the movie was spent on helping Victor win his boxing match, and I felt that was more detrimental to the movie than a plus. I did like Victor. It was good to
yeah,
see a fun, familiar face. It's good to see Charlie Conway is still alive and well, doing after his ice hockey exploits has now come into the world of pizza making and boxing. So a very multi-talented fellow. I maybe he should have gone and done a lot more with ice hockey, but unfortunately that didn't work out. So I'm sure at least one of you guys know what I'm referencing, at least, right?
I have no idea.
Oh, you don't. Oh shit! I thought the way you guys are nodding, it's like at least somebody could acknowledge. So the guy who plays Victor is the guy who plays Charlie Conway in the Mighty Ducks movies.
I have not watched Mighty Duck, so
Eh,
okay.
I'm
Okay,
not.
we need to do that. Okay,
Is
Aaron,
this
you
the
let
one
me
with the
say
yellow jerseys by any chance, though?
green.
No, no, I don't. I am pretty sure I have not watched Mighty Ducks.
Aaron, you've
I
watched it.
think we've had this conversation
Yep.
before.
Maybe because the guy in the Mighty Ducks movies also is Foggy from Daredevil. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the time we had the previous comment. But yeah, it was
I
really enough.
when I saw this guy, right, like the boxer, I know I feel like I've definitely seen him in some other movie, but I just can't kind of put my finger on which one it would be.
So I've seen him in a few
I can
TV
even Google it.
shows, but I will Google it. But until then, like, what did you make of Victor? And that entire sort of
So
relationship that he had?
Irene and I had a quick chat after watching the movie, and I think we both actually, like, on the contrary to what you said, we liked that bit. It was a very different take on the student training another person to kind of deal
No,
with
so
his
I
issues and all
I
that
like
stuff.
that part. I like that part, but I felt then that could have been the movie. I would have really liked that to be the movie if maybe Han had come to help support that. The fact that I
Yeah,
knew where it was going to go back into, which is him going, I knew that the father was not going to win and then he would have to step in for the five boroughs. I knew that was the case. But that's why I felt like that bit was too rushed when I knew what the movie was going to be. But if it had spent the entire movie, I really loved the different angle to which it was going. I did like it. I liked spending time with Victor. I really liked the montage of both him training Victor and all. It's really fun. That's why I said I really liked it, despite it being
yeah,
majority of the movie, where I knew where the movie is going to go, and I knew that that was going
yeah,
to be rushed. But go on,
yeah.
yeah.
I think also we discussed this, but I think I like the characters of Victor and Mia probably more than the remaining characters of the movie. I felt like there was more. I think there was more of a connect to their kind of backstory and their whatever was happening in their lives more than the others. So I kind of felt those characters were portrayed much better than anyone else in the movie, to be honest.
Yeah,
So the girl, in fact, does a really good job. I feel like in this short span of time that she's got,
yeah.
I feel like she put in a very powerful performance, and like in the way the character comes across, it's like every moment she's in, she kind of demands that attention of sorts. Like it's hard. Like it. I think she just nailed the character really well, and it speaks volumes when you probably only have like 10 minutes in the entire movie, if like from a entire like hour and a half runtime, or maybe 15 minutes at most. I don't think she was on screen for more than that, perhaps. Or we had a different version where there were some scenes chopped off on our end for
Ah,
some reasons, but like it just felt like in the moments that she was in, she completely kind of stole the show and ran away with it.
I like their chemistry. Honestly, I like Lee and Mia's
Oh, yeah.
chemistry. I think they were quite cute. It was really fun to watch them, especially when he helps her in that speak Mandarin. That was a really fun thing. I really like those moments. But I think overall, when you look at it, I had to rate it a two because of there were so many other things which I didn't like. But I felt like
Yeah,
she was knowing all the female characters across the Karate Kid universe. I felt she was probably the best out of them. I mean, the Cobra Kai ones are annoying to say the least at times, but she definitely put in a really good performance. I really
I mean,
liked her.
to a certain point, Tori's story was good. It's just it got repetitive at certain points where
Hmm.
felt like she was into this self-destructible mode where she didn't want to
Yeah.
communicate and all
No,
of
no.
that stuff. But otherwise, I
I
think
mean,
the backstory and
story wise,
the
everything
way
was nice, but I felt like at times they could be a slightly annoying. But I guess we spent a lot more time with them. So I
exactly.
don't know if we spend more time with Mia, maybe we'd find more stuff where she gets a lot more confused about her relationships, and then I finally get like fed up with this woman. So I think they did a good job in probably portraying, or she did a better job in portraying that entire character. And then we come to the five boroughs. And what did you think of that entire, like the tournament? Because Naeem, you and I are used to the proper tournament, and of course, in Cobra Kai, we spend a lot of time in each fight. Here, it
Yeah.
felt like one kick done, and let's move on to the next one. And suddenly, we are in the
Way too,
finals.
way too rushed. Like the whole sequence felt very rushed until you finally arrive at the final battle, right? Like that's the only time where you feel like the fight is actually happening. Before that, I'm just like, what is even happening? Like why is it felt like the camera was moving way too much for some reason. The
Mm-hmm.
focus was not right or something. Like it just didn't feel right in the way the tournament was happening. I get it, like it's a very street-esque approach of doing the battle or the fight or whatever you want to call it. I'm not a big fan of it per se, but I guess the way everything kind of the way everything kind of hit this maximum throttle towards the end of Cobra Kai, it kind of spoils it for you from perspective of, okay, that's what Cobra Kai, which is a series, managed to do. So this, which is like a standalone movie where it seems like to be a bigger deal than Cobra Kai in itself, perhaps, and with like two universes of Cobra Kai coming, Karate Kid coming together, you think it's like a more grander approach that they go for and all of that stuff, right? But I think this movie is like a stepping stone to what's to come next with this character. I don't think, I mean, a lot of it depends on how they perform
Yeah.
from a perspective of box office, right? But I think if it's even like if manages to break even, which I think it might, if not in the cinemas itself, but perhaps with the streaming deals and all of that stuff. Because I think when it hits streaming, it will be one of those movies that's kind of like trending for a while. Uh, that's my perspective on this. Because honestly, like I think if I watched this on a TV, my rating would be a far more positive one as opposed to going to the cinema and watching. Again,
Yeah.
coming
I
back
don't think
to
mine
the
would.
the coming back to the tournament in itself is like, nah, I
Yeah.
didn't feel it. That
I
was one of the gripes that I had. And also, okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, I also felt like you built it to this massive thing on this rooftop, right? The finale. It didn't feel like anything. Like the crowd support, everything. I felt like, where did this all come from? I know Five Boroughs must be a big thing and it's had previous iterations and that's maybe where it's garnered support. But I didn't feel like I didn't feel like Lee kind of earned that support and that admiration from everyone else. It just felt like they were there for the tournament rather than for the people. Whereas in Cobra Kai, you were there for more like there was more family support, and then there were people who were there for Miguel and for Robbie and all of that. So I just felt like it didn't hit as much. Like even when he won it, or even any of the fights, it really didn't hit home that, oh my god, this is a big deal. Like you said, right? Cobra Kai made karate sound like a bigger deal than what karate is. Right? It made it seem like they were saving the world rather than just a simple
Yeah,
tournament. Here,
that did it.
here it felt like even lesser than what a normal karate tournament should be, and that's saying something, right? I did not feel any sort of anxiety or nervousness watching this because, I mean, maybe it is because it's the same trope that the good
But
guy will always win. I think,
correct me if I'm
yeah.
wrong. Is it a karate tournament? I
I
don't
mean,
think it
not
is.
karate. I mean, it's a martial arts tournament, I suppose, right? Or it's
Okay,
a
just
kung
like
fu tournament. I don't know what. Yeah, that's another thing. What kind of tournament is it? Because of course he only, like, Mr. Han only wants Lee to learn karate because he wants to infuse both in order to help Lee win.
yeah.
But I don't know what kind of tournament it technically is. It's definitely not a pure karate tournament, nor is it a pure kung fu tournament. And it just feels like
Probably just a martial arts tournament, I guess.
Like a
Mixed
freestyle brawl.
martial
I don't
arts.
know.
a freestyle brawl also possibly, but they have rules, right? A freestyle brawl wouldn't technically have certain rules, maybe,
It just
but
felt like one of those undisputed, or what are those games that
underground
we play
fights, those underground
underground?
fights
Yeah,
where, yeah,
like you choose whatever you want.
it
And you just
almost felt like watching Tekken in a way, where it just felt like somebody's going to say and fight, and then you
Yeah,
just have people punch.
the way the +1 and +2 are popping up, you could have been watching a Tekken game or something. But yeah, it was weird.
Tekken or Street Fighter, it's essentially Street Fighter where you're going, oh, okay, like somebody's
Hmm.
gonna start throwing arms like that around. And some of the names as well, like it was crazy. Like I think in the first battle, like Lee faces someone called Buddha Stevens. It's like hilarious, some of the names that they came up with.
and
But
Buddha Stevens looks like the son of the boxer that uh, the
that Victor
girlfriend's father
After-
father fights.
fights. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I
probably.
don't know. It just looked like that, and I was like, okay, what's happening here? Okay, so one, yeah, you have
No, no,
some.
no. I was gonna move on to the next topic anyway. That's fine.
Okay, so one main, like for me, is for one main or key thing that really affected my viewing of this movie, or kind of really dulled the experience as a whole for me, was the trauma bit, right? Like
Yes, I
the
was about to say
way in
that.
which it's portrayed, the lack of focus on the backstory, or the lack of time you spend with the brother
Hmm.
in the build up to what happens, and the I don't think like you it hits the way it should hit. Like losing a sibling is not a easy this thing whatsoever, and if it happens right in front of your eyes, it's a whole other ball game. And with the fact that maybe you could have actually done something, but with the fact that it's happening for the first time, that you're in an actual fight, and you freeze. I understand all of that carries a lot of weight, right? But I don't think you spend enough time with the brother bonding to
Mm-hmm.
kind of just drive home at how hard it really hurts to lose someone of that caliber. And that to me is a big problem in the way the whole trauma is being presented in this thing. It's like, especially where the girlfriend's father gets knocked down and he has these flashbacks, and he goes to the entrance of the hospital and suddenly like just completely freezes again and all of that stuff. I just felt it didn't it lacked the punch it should have ideally had, kind of a thing. Like, that was my perspective of it, and it largely impacted the way the entire story was working for me.
I agree. I think from my end, I expected the trauma, the backstory, because backstory to be worse. So I like the build up when she talks about losing, like, or Han was responsible for losing one of her children, right? And I was intrigued by understanding, or intrigued by to see how they would show that loss, or how he actually died. How he did, I was kind of underwhelmed by it. I It is still traumatic, obviously. To lose someone, or to lose a sibling, or to lose a child is very, very traumatic. And I understand the mother's apprehension for fighting, and that she put a strict rule to it, which didn't really, I mean, I would have been a lot stricter after the first black eye, right? Like, I mean, if I was that mother, and that to an Asian mother, man, that kid was quite lucky that she wasn't very strict with it. But I think after all that's happened, I was very underwhelmed. Like you, I agree with you wholeheartedly that I didn't feel the gut punch, or the hurt that they were meant to showcase, or they felt at that point. It just felt like, okay, yeah, I mean, I can understand why you feel that way, but you're right. I think, like I said, there was lack of any character development, which made any of these moments feel a lot less, I don't know, worthy. And okay, so now that, I guess, Aaron, do you have anything to talk about that part?
No, I think the same. I think even if they didn't want to spend too much time with the brother, maybe have more moments where the anxiety or stuff would affect Lee would have been nice. Like maybe that whole train thing where he just keeps quiet, and maybe Connor, whatever, uh, is being more aggressive or whatever towards them in the train, maybe shy away there, or something, just to show that it affects him in his day to day life. You would see him one day riding on a scooter with Mia, and then suddenly he's in his room, like moping over a picture, which really did not connect, where you were seeing that it was affecting him on a day to day basis, or affecting the family per se, because it was supposed to be that both mother and son were kind of in this difficult place. But yeah, I mean, until the time that they would kind of refer to it, you really didn't see how their lives were being impacted, because again, like their first day of work as well as his school thing, they were like all super happy and jovial about it and kind of stuff, and you're like, you know, it's kind of weird. You didn't kind of feel what they were going through and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of a disjointed thing, I guess. But yeah, hopefully, if there's a next one, they get that sorted out.
Yeah, so the other thing I didn't like about this was the fact that, again, you had to see a move, which was, I think we saw it in Karate Kid 1, where Daniel LaRusso moved to a new neighborhood or a new city. And 2 didn't have it. 3, I think 3, I don't remember if I watched 3. 3 maybe. And then you had obviously the one with Jaden Smith, where they moved as well, right? So again, to have that
That
move,
also is the same thing, right? Miguel's family moves, relocates early on, but she does as soon as she finds out that she is pregnant with Miguel. So she moves, she leaves. Was it
really?
finds out or something. Yeah, she was with that person for the longest time, right? And she leaves because she doesn't want Miguel growing up under that influence or
Oh,
what.
yeah, okay, but I mean, the show doesn't really, or it's not the main crux. They're already moved in the show. She doesn't
They are,
move
but
in.
no, the focus in, like, I don't get it. Like, and we just discussed this, me and Aaron, like when we were having discussion on this, the the lack of a father figure in the Karate Kid movies is like completely weird. You take Daniel LaRusso, you take Johnny Lawrence, you take Lee. What was Jaden's name in the movie? Lee.
I don't know, but whatever it is. Jaden
Okay,
Smith, yeah,
he's not got one. Followed by the character in this movie,
Lee.
you've got, even in Cobra Kai, like I mentioned, it just feels like the father is never present in any of these
But that's because
metal
that's the
styles.
whole role of the sensei, right? Is and
You
because
take
all of the
you,
senseis
you
are
look at
male.
you look
So,
you look at even Hawk, right?
yeah.
Even Hawks, you only see the mother, you never see the father. You hear about it and stuff, but it's never the focus. So what is this? Is it the same story writer that's writing for all of them, and there's just something inherent, unfinished business with father that's underlying all of this that's
No, but I
being
think the whole focus of the Karate Kid universe is that the senseis mold
Come
the
and instill
kids.
discipline.
Yeah, or rather, the senseis are the father figures, and that's why the kids turn out to be exactly
yeah,
like
but
how their senseis are.
they can be like father figures. They don't have to be your father to be your only figure, right? Like that only figure kind of thing.
Well,
It's weird.
for Miguel, it kind
It's
of becomes, yeah.
it's just weird from that perspective that it's always the same tropes that they kind of go for. And
Yeah,
see, the thing you said, I don't agree with, in the sense that in this movie, I think the motivation of actually moving a city is completely justified, in the sense that if you've gone through a situation like the trauma, like, like of losing someone and all of that, it's kind of okay to want a change of scenery, I suppose. What do
but
you think?
is that the reason? I just thought she got a job there. I mean,
She got a job, but she knows that the son is struggling with the trauma, from what I understand, right? And she doesn't want him to get into the fighting and all of that stuff.
yeah,
So
she does,
it just,
that's there. But I felt like if that's the case, it should have been done. As I thought, so that's the point I was going to come to, was that I felt like given the trauma that they had, I thought it would have made more sense that they moved as maybe just as soon as that incident happened. Like once everything is cleared up and all of that, they would have moved at that point. But I felt like they did leave some time to pass which allowed Lee to continue training under Mr. Han. And then when she got the opportunity, she took it, maybe, yes, for the chance to get him out of Han's academy and to have him to start restart life, right? Like, but I still
but I
feel
think
like,
you need to kind of be realistic in those terms as well, right? It's not like when you're looking for the right opportunity to make a move as well. Okay, so first of all, once there's been a tragedy or this
but
thing,
that's
it
that's
takes
the
a
point.
while
Like
to kind of gauge everything that's happening around it. It takes a while to come into senses and start planning on things and all of that stuff. You also take into account how things are affecting in the way they are. Like, can you go on as is? But it's clearly impacting her son in the way he's going about things, and she clearly has her views about not wanting him to train whatsoever. So she wants to take him away from all of that, and for her it means moving to, I guess, a city where, or a country where karate is not the focus, right? And which is why it's not just a change of city that's happening, but a change of country. Again, this is my perspective on the
no,
take or the
but
way
that's my
they've done.
point. Is that I think I wish we had that backstory. I wish we had that knowledge as to. I don't think the motivation for me was that clear. That okay, fine. There's a part of me that knows that they are moving because they want to start a new life somewhere else and probably forget what's happened. But I feel like the trauma bit didn't hit hard enough for me to be like, okay, that is the exact reason. It just felt for me more that she just found a job and they're moving, which felt similar to what happened with Jaden Smith's character or the Jaden Smith Karate Kid when she moves from US to China to
But
Beijing.
two very different things, no? See,
Also,
Karate Kid.
where did Jackie Chan get all the money to start such a massive school? Because last I saw him in that movie was that they just won that tournament and he's still a maintenance worker.
Dude, once you win a tournament, I think you can turn things around. You're like
Uh,
the reigning champions. It's like how global
All
Cobra Kai
those
wanted.
students left that other sensei and came to him. Now, like, so
Yeah,
then they're
yeah.
like,
They're like, yeah,
"You
we're
are
gonna
now
get
my
our money.
sensei."
Yeah, it made
okay.
complete sense, man. It's easy to like.
Yeah,
Let's not.
fine. I'm not getting into that. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
But tell me,
Netflix,
He
if
was
you're
a,
watching, we'll
he
write the
was
story for you.
yeah, yes. Okay, but one thing I wanted to talk to you about is the whole thing was set up to be this great meet between Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan. So Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Han.
Before we move to that, I have one question, okay? Because even till now, I'm very unclear on this.
Okay.
Is Jackie Chan's character Han actually related to these guys, like Lee Fang's family, or is it just like out of respect they call him uncle?
So I thought he's just uh, a sensei who got very close to the family. When I read on Wikipedia, it says great uncle. So I am not exactly sure whether he's actually related.
Because I felt like maybe the aunt, sorry, the mother of Lee is maybe like this guy is her uncle, actual uncle, and perhaps that's why there's this a closer bond between. And also, would be quite weird for him to just crash into their apartment in New York otherwise, right? Uninvited. Like even
I,
if it was just a
I don't know the backstory. I would think maybe then they are sort of related. I would then think that would make sense. But calling him Shifu, that's more a sensei term than it is. So I don't know.
but I
Yeah.
think that's a different thing, right? Like Shifu in the sense that
Yeah, I don't
like
know, man. Honestly, that was the least problematic part for me. But yes, I agree that it is a
Least,
little.
no, it's not that it's a least problematic. Like there is a direct connection between
No. I'm not saying. Yeah.
Miyagi's legacy and the Han family's legacy, right? And if he does come from the Han family or has some connection to that, the Li Fang, then it I think adds a little more value to this kid being the extension of that branch of the
Yeah.
Miyagi tree or whatever and stuff. I think I'm looking at
No,
it from that.
I understand that. No, I said it's least problematic in the sense that I didn't give it much thought. It's a fair question to ask because it's weird that a sensei just comes and crashes into your. But we've seen senseis be quite close in the main Karate Kid sort of story and even in Cobra Kai. So I wouldn't be too bothered or too. I wasn't too bothered, nor was I too hung over the fact that he just simply found. I don't know how he found them, but he found them in New York City and crashed into their apartment. Which again, I think he came through the window. So yeah. But talking about this, Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan, for me, it didn't hit as hard as I thought it would. I felt like had Jackie Chan showed up at Cobra Kai, I think I would have been like, oh my god, he's here. This is going to be epic. Here, it just felt flat.
See, I think it's the fact that it's been laid out that this is happening right from the start. If it happens out of, it's like that moment, right? Like the whole Last of Us discussion we were having about Abby, like the crowd knowing beforehand that this is the
The
motivation or this is
Yeah.
what's happening, stuff like that. It's that knowing that kind of takes away from the experience in itself, which because they're gonna be on the screen. They've already appeared on the same video, as opposed to like when Johnny comes in, I don't know about you. I was like, oh my god, they brought him in. They found a way to bring him into this movie, and in that couple of minutes that he was there, I felt like he stole the show for me. Between these two characters, like I still between Larusso and Jackie, I really like Jackie's character more.
Yeah.
obviously we spend a lot more time with Jackie's character as well, but he's a little more humorous anyway. In the entire series, it's not Daniel that's the comic character; it's Johnny that brings that into it, right? So I think that's where Han was really shining for me in that perspective, and I also like the way he kept saying "Sensei La Russo." It's like, okay, that's nice. That's a very different way of saying it as opposed to La Pusso. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Aaron doesn't know about this, but yes, okay. I like his questioning look. But I agree. I think, yeah, maybe like in Cobra Kai, I suppose when Chosen comes in, it's like, oh my god, he's here. So maybe that would have been added a lot more. The fact that we knew that both of them were going to meet was probably spoiled in the trailer itself. But even then, I felt like I would have been a lot more excited to know what Jackie Chan was doing in the Cobra Kai series than what Daniel Russo was kind of, or in this Karate Kid standalone.
Also, to add to that point, it always impacts in the way the character is brought into this thing. If they bring him suddenly into a training sequence or something like that, where like then it's more surprising and caught off guard as opposed to when he's gone to, you see that whole car and all of that stuff and you already know, okay, he's meeting LaRusso there, as opposed to how I would have done that scene perhaps is like he's training Lee perhaps, and then something like he's trying a move or something and then suddenly LaRusso blocks or something like that, and that adds.
I didn't mind the fact even when he came onto the garden when Lee's on the ground and then you could see the foot, LaRusso's foot, and then he picks up. That's
Exactly.
also fine. It's nice.
So
But
that sequence you start off with, and then you do a flashback of when Han had gone to kind of ask for help from Daniel, for if that adds more value or something as a flashback, like a quick flashback, not like, oh, I know you will come and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
like,
that felt a bit like I mean, yeah, you know you're going to join. So it just felt like almost exposition in a way that I agree. I think had he joined in the training sequence and then maybe they would have had a heart to heart talk later on, I would have found it fine. I didn't see the need to go all the way to California, right? That's where he is. Yeah, because the song also hits at the same time. So California and then bring him back. So no, but I think overall it feels almost like a missed opportunity. I think there were so many things that they could have done with this which would have made it a lot better. I think, like we discussed, there were bits and pieces which really fit well together, and I felt maybe with a little longer runtime, a little more of a
I
back.
completely agree with.
Yeah,
Like I thought like a 30-40 minutes edition would
yeah,
have really helped the movie, and also I don't think you would have mind. At no point in the movie I was like, man, I need to get out of here. But I was like, give me more that makes me feel like I relate enough to feel like this is hitting me, kind of a thing. Like that thing was just like I wanted to relate, but I was struggling to relate, kind of a thing.
Nor did I think that the Five Boroughs was actually a mega tournament. Like
Yeah,
for example, like the Valley tournament felt like a massive tournament for that particular area, right?
which
Like
is good in a way, right? Because then if this is also a major tournament, and for the entirety of Cobra Kai series and everything that's preceded it, there's been no mention of these kind of huge tournaments happening. I think you feel like, man, they just keep adding whatever they want. They do make it very clear that in US, I think Valley is where the karate is at, right? So I think from that perspective, it makes sense.
No, but
The
then
only
but then
counteract is that for me, this feels more like a free brawl,
yeah,
opposed to
a
being an
karate
actual
tournament.
karate tournament. Yeah.
No, that's why I'm saying I was thinking like, hey man, if Connor is this big deal in New York, why the hell is he not featured in the Takai, right? So why is he not there? Then I realized that this is not a pure karate tournament. That is
Axel knocked him out in the pre qualification.
Okay. By the way, yes. Now I want to ask you, Naeem, because again, it's frustrating that Aaron can't contribute to this given that he's not watched the show. But we've seen the Cobra Kai OG, right? OG 4. Let's take the OG 4 also. how do you think they would have fared against someone like a Lee or a Connor?
Cobra Kai OG4, we're talking about Miguel, we're talking about Robbie, we're talking about
Sam and Tori.
against Connor. I think
Okay,
with the exception,
okay, then
with
let's
the
okay. Let
exception of Sam, I think all three would have kicked Connor his ass without question. Like, there's no way. Miguel, for sure, considering I'm guessing now he's continued on the path of training regularly, he would have reached a whole other level. So, for sure, I think Miguel would thrash. And considering Robbie also has gone down the path of like marketing his karate skills and stuff, which I would think he would still keep at the top of his game. And Tori, anyway, is also following that same path, right, with Robbie. So I think the three of them for sure kick Connor Day's ass. Sam, I've always had my
apprehensions about. Okay, I
apprehensions about.
think maybe a Hawk or a Kenny would have still taken care of him.
Oh yeah, forget Hawk definitely, but I think even a Kenny for the kind of size he's at and where he's reached at that perspective, right? Which brings me to a very important question that perhaps Aaron cannot answer, but maybe we can look at it from his from the OG universe, like who he thinks is the best fighter. But I want to know, in this whole grand scheme of things, who do you think is the the top, let's say the top three fighters in the karate universe or Karate Kid universe rather?
Aaron, let's start with you because I want to know your perspective because you'll only have the movies to judge on.
That's interesting. To be honest, I think I just based on whatever we've seen, I think if Johnny probably had like the right frame of mind, you probably put him as the best amongst everyone else. I You would want to believe that Daniel would probably get better than just the one move that he kept pulling on to kind of bail himself out. So yeah, just for the sake of nostalgia and being kind to him, I think I'll give him 2. Uh, yeah, and then I think 3 is a toss up between anyone else. Anyway, I probably wouldn't rate the rest from the movies very highly, to be honest. So yeah, I think 3 is anyone's. They can scrap it out.
I really didn't mind Lee as a karate, or rather a student or a fighter. I think he did quite well. I think he's got a good mix of both kung fu and karate, and I felt like he's pretty agile.
Yeah,
he is. The only thing was, if I'm just trying to go based on what the movie is, I think they kind of show that the focus still isn't quite there, and
Yeah.
so you can see how maybe someone who's on it could probably get the better of him. But yeah, I mean, it's still quite early days into his character, this thing. So probably once the focus is there, then probably I think he's a shoe in for third, and probably maybe Daniel will have to kind of like step aside.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I agree because he took a lot of shots before he actually got the hits on corners because he nearly got KO'd, right?
Yeah.
So
And you could see that a lot of times it would be things that kind of took him by surprise. It's like he didn't even see those things coming, sort of thing. So I think that is why you kind of feel like it's more like how Jackie Chan was like more the goofball fighter who's got skills, but yeah, someone who's completely on it probably could give him a run for his money.
yeah, honestly, I feel like Jackie Chan's awareness is 100 because that's his fighting style, right? Like use things around you to get past things, and I love that fight
which is why you give Lee the potential to kind of be that. Right now, he just has the clown of Jackie Chan more than the awareness.
I do love Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio's fight. I wish we had a lot more of that. I know they're 171 and one is 63 or whatever, but or whatever it is. They haven't because I was wondering when I saw that photo of Jackie Chan and Miyagi, I was like, what's the age difference? Because I thought, I mean, Ralph Macchio is quite old, is older than what he looks. He's much older than what he looks, right? And then I was wondering, what's the age difference between Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio? Because when you look at it, Ralph Macchio is older than even Silver, and Silver's got silver hair.
Yeah, though to be fair, probably because I haven't watched Cobra Kai in the longest time, and so for me, it's like a gap between the movies and then when I've seen him late. To be honest, I felt like, damn, the boy has aged quite badly. So yeah, but yeah, once you kind of look up and see his age, you're like, okay, you understand why. But initial reaction was like, damn, that didn't go well, or these years haven't been too kind.
Yeah. So I think for me, yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, I think that was a bit of a weird thing to see the photo. Then I realized that Miyagi could have gone to China at any point in time. That's not his first trip there. So he could have met Jackie Chan at any point. And then when I saw the age, yeah, there is a sort of 8-year difference between Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. So it's possible that could have actually been a real life photo with Jackie Chan and Pat Morita. So uh, when you read up on it, then it looks like okay, real. It could be real and not CGI Photoshop. But if you're asking me about who my top three are now, given that I've watched all of it, for me, I know who my Karate Kid is. It is Miguel. No matter what it is, I think Miguel is my Karate Kid. I'm so glad, however, Cobra Kai ended, because yes, he is the top dog. Then I would put Johnny Lawrence because just maybe from age, but he is the next Karate Kid. And then final, I would maybe put, that's a tough one because I'm only getting three. Who do you put? Because you have really, really crazy guys there, right? You have Daniel, you have Robbie, you have Tori, you have the badass guy, the baddest guy in all of karate, Mike Barnes. You have Silver. It's like, who do you choose from?
Chosen.
Chosen, yeah, exactly. So it's insane. I'm actually a toss up between Mike Barnes and Chosen, to be honest, as my greatest, or even the other woman who was part of Silver's gang and Crease's gang. I forget her name, but she's
Fierce.
really, yeah, she's fierce. But if you were just to talk about the kids who are actually the students, I'm not taking the senseis because that's a whole different. So I'm taking Johnny as a student. So I take Miguel, Johnny, and then I'd put probably Hawk. Yours, your three before we end this
I'll
up.
cheat my way into this. I have
Of
two
course.
different ways of ranking. So I'll have 1-3 where it's like in the current state of things, and 1-3 where their true potential was realized, right? In the sense that they kept at training at the level they were when they were initially introduced, and there were no deviations to because of some issue that happened and all of that stuff.
Okay.
This thing. So the one with like in the current state of things, I think the number 3 for me would be Johnny Lawrence in the current state of things, right?
What is current state of things that as an adult? Or
no, as a student, but he stops,
okay.
right? Like his trajectory to kind of better himself stops after Kreese leaves him, which is like probably like early on in his career, right? Comparatively. So I feel like there is a lot more that he could have achieved, but because of the circumstances, things don't work out for him, right? Second one is, I think no one really might even consider this as one of the options, but for me, in the finale or the last 2 seasons or the last part of the season where they had different parts, they had this one character come in and he looked really freaking
Axel.
Axel. I think
Yeah.
the fact that Axel also kind of, in a way, goes easy on Miguel because of
Yeah.
certain reasons. I think the guy has a lot of potential, and trained in further in a right way would be uh like really on a whole other level.
Fair.
Even in the current state of things, I think Miguel is my Karate Kid too. He is the best because simply of the fact that he's able to mash the Miyagi way of doing things, Eagle
Uh,
Fangs into all of that, and Cobra Kai into the mix, right? So it's
yeah.
like not just Johnny Lawrence, but also
Crease.
John Cleese in there, and also Sensei Larusso in the mix of things. So he definitely by far is the best fighter in there. Now coming to the one where the potentials are completely realized of what they could achieve in terms of keeping the training going at the speed where they are, right? I think from that perspective, I think Lee Fang probably this kid, like from what I've seen, I feel like he will be in the top three for me.
Okay.
So he's the third one. The second one is Johnny Lawrence in this case, and I would probably have him first, but the only problem is his way of learning would have continued if he continued on the same path in terms of realizing his potential, would still be one way of the Cobra Kai, right? Like there's no mashup, and which is why the first spot still remains with Miguel, because of that whole thing of bringing the different styles into play and learning from all of that. So that's the slight difference, that I would have Axel because of the way he's shown in the series and where he's at in this thing. But otherwise, it's, and obviously Lee Fang brought in here because I think he has got massive potential, and considering he's put the trauma behind and all of that, now his focus becomes the training and all of that stuff, and then he evolves to be a better fighter.
Yeah, I think Axel for me is the the baddest villain, or rather the baddest bad guy, or the foe, the baddest opponent, the hardest opponent that has ever been shown in the Karate Kid universe.
Yeah, I think Connor Day wouldn't stand any chance against Axel Lee. Like one chop and he would have been done, kind of a thing. So
Yeah, imagine. I think Axel. When I picture Axel, I picture the Great Khali. He'll just do like "Pora," like dead.
done.
Like
Yeah.
you can't even hurt him even a second. But to get even a point. So I think overall, yeah. I mean, we've discussed all there is to be discussed about Karate Kid Legends. We don't know what the future holds for this entire universe. Whether Sony will essentially. So we've kind of, or rather, I've rated it based on the fact that there won't be any other standalone movies, and this is the final one, knowing Sony's run of late and their form. But yes, I think if they were to be more, we'll definitely cover it. But we'll also hope to cover the earlier Karate Kid movies, as well as hopefully at one point in time, Aaron does get to finish Cobra Kai. Whether we want to do that as separate seasons, also that will also be fun, rather than have the whole thing, because there's a lot to unravel in that show.
You can let us know how
Yeah,
you
do
want
let
us
us
to
know.
do it.
I look forward to Miyagi Do Pizza opening up soon in the place that we stay.
In.
Yeah.
Where?
In
We already know
UAE.
you're in Dubai. What is in the place where you stay?
I
Yeah,
was like, should I mention India first or should I mention UAE
it's
first?
fine. It's okay. Have it in Dubai. That's not an issue. So yeah, let's have Miyagi Do the billionaire idea. Maybe we should have had Johnny Lawrence on our other podcast to talk about their dream restaurant. But until then, I guess missed opportunities are missed
Share,
opportunities.
subscribe, like, and send it to the internet.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Hit the like button, share with friends and family, subscribe to this channel to get your daily dose of everything pop culture, and we'll catch you all on the next episode. See you.
Lights.